The complete story of Proverbs like you've never seen it before. Life-changing lessons you can apply today. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to navigate life with clarity, peace, and purpose, while others struggle endlessly with confusion, regret, and broken relationships? What if the secret to making wise decisions, handling challenges, and building a life of blessing has been hidden in plain sight all along, waiting for you in the pages of the book of Proverbs? Many people think of Proverbs as simply a collection of wise sayings, but it is far more than that. It is a divine roadmap, designed by God to guide our thoughts, shape our character, and influence our choices in ways that lead to lasting fulfillment. Each proverb is a lens through which we can see life more clearly, revealing the consequences of folly, the rewards of righteousness, and the principles that lead to stability, peace, and honor. The wisdom of Proverbs is both practical and transformative. It speaks to every area of life: our words, our actions, our relationships, our finances, and even the intentions of our hearts. Proverbs challenges us to examine our motives, correct our missteps, and align our lives with the principles of God's truth. It is a guide for moral clarity, a teacher for ethical living, and a mentor for personal growth. Unlike fleeting advice or human opinion, the wisdom in Proverbs is timeless, applicable across generations, and rooted in the fear of Jesus, the reverence and respect that form the foundation for understanding life itself. In this video, we will explore the complete story of Proverbs like you've never seen it before. We will uncover how its principles reveal the path of righteousness and the dangers of folly, how practical wisdom transforms daily living, and how inner character and moral integrity shape every decision we make. By the end, you will not only understand the teachings of Proverbs in a deeper, more meaningful way, but you will also discover how to apply them in your own life to experience clarity, guidance, and the abundant blessings that come from walking in God's wisdom. This is more than ancient advice. It is divine insight for living a life that honors Jesus, impacts others positively, and fulfills your God-given purpose. Part 1. The Foundation of Wisdom. The book of Proverbs begins by teaching us that the foundation of all wisdom is the fear of Jesus. This is not a fear that paralyzes or terrifies, but a deep reverence, awe, and respect that shapes how we live, think, and make decisions. Reverence for God forms the basis of moral clarity, life alignment, and stability, anchoring every choice in divine truth rather than human opinion. Without this foundation, knowledge becomes pride, morality becomes self-deception, and decisions are guided by impulse rather than principle. Proverbs emphasizes that acknowledging Jesus and submitting to his guidance is the starting point from which every other aspect of life, speech, behavior, relationships, work, and thought can flourish in alignment with God's will. Wisdom in Proverbs is intensely practical. It is not abstract philosophy or theory. It is intended to be lived and applied daily. When a person's heart is aligned with God, their speech becomes constructive, their actions produce stability, and their relationships thrive in honesty and trust. The contrast between wisdom and folly is stark and repeated throughout the text. The wise build lives of blessing, influence, and lasting impact, whereas the foolish stumble through life, facing instability, regret, and unnecessary conflict. Proverbs shows that each choice carries weight and contributes to either the path of blessing or the path of folly. The fear of the Lord also shapes the heart internally. It cultivates humility, teachability, and moral sensitivity, ensuring that desires, motives, and actions are aligned with divine principles. Wisdom is holistic. It integrates thought, emotion, behavior, and interaction with others. It is both preventative and corrective. It warns against moral pitfalls, guides decision-making, and encourages reflection and discernment. In practical terms, a person guided by wisdom will speak with kindness and integrity, manage resources prudently, plan carefully, act responsibly, and maintain healthy, respectful relationships. Proverbs also emphasizes diligence, prudence, and attentiveness as essential elements of wisdom. It is not gained passively. It requires intentionality, study, reflection, and application. Every moment presents an opportunity to choose wisely or foolishly. Speech is powerful. Words can build or destroy. Financial stewardship, generosity, and ethical behavior reflect wisdom or folly. Relationships thrive when guided by discernment, humility, and love, or falter when led by selfishness, pride, or short-sightedness. By framing these choices within the fear of Jesus, Proverbs shows that wisdom is actionable, measurable, and transformative. Furthermore, the pursuit of wisdom requires a continuous commitment to growth. It is cultivated through daily practice, reflection, and alignment with God's Word. Proverbs emphasizes that knowledge alone is insufficient. It must be internalized and applied. The wise are intentional in their behavior, disciplined in thought, and thoughtful in action. They recognize the importance of learning from experience, heeding counsel, and prioritizing eternal principles over temporary gain. This approach transforms not only individuals but entire communities, as wise living impacts families, workplaces, and society positively. Ultimately, Part 1 establishes that the foundation of a flourishing, blessed life begins with reverence for Jesus. The fear of the Lord is the starting point from which understanding, moral clarity, integrity, and prudence grow. Without this foundation, knowledge is hollow, decisions are flawed, and life becomes unstable. With it, wisdom flourishes, producing lives that honor God, influence others positively, and navigate challenges successfully. Proverbs teaches that reverence is the root, and from this root grows every branch of a life marked by blessing, insight, and alignment with God's purposes. Recognizing the fear of the Lord as the starting point is crucial for anyone seeking guidance, stability, and enduring impact in their personal, relational, and spiritual life. Part 2. The contrast between righteousness and foolishness. Once the foundation of wisdom is understood, Proverbs presents a clear and vivid contrast between righteousness and foolishness. The righteous are characterized by humility, diligence, integrity, and alignment with God's principles. Their lives produce stability, peace, influence, and blessing. They carefully consider consequences, act with honesty, and prioritize eternal values over fleeting pleasure. Every decision, word, and action is informed by the fear of Jesus and guided by understanding. The foolish, in contrast, act impulsively, ignore divine guidance, and often prioritize self-interest. Folly produces instability, conflict, regret, and broken relationships, demonstrating the real-world consequences of rejecting wisdom. Proverbs illustrates this contrast with practical examples. Speech is a major indicator of character. The righteous speak truthfully, kindly, and thoughtfully, fostering trust and harmony, while the foolish speak rashly, deceitfully, or cruelly, creating conflict and division. Financial choices reflect the same principle. Prudence, stewardship, and generosity lead to blessing, while greed, laziness, and dishonesty produce loss and instability. Relationships thrive under wisdom and deteriorate under folly, showing that God's guidance is relevant in every aspect of life. The moral and spiritual consequences of these choices are profound. Living in righteousness fosters inner peace, strengthens character and aligns the heart with God. The consequences of foolishness extend beyond temporary discomfort. They erode integrity, harm relationships, and compromise future opportunities. Proverbs emphasizes that outcomes are directly tied to the application or neglect of divine principles, and even small decisions have significant impact. Observing this contrast motivates the pursuit of wisdom and highlights the importance of moral discernment. Folly is not merely an individual issue, it has communal effects. The choices of the foolish influence families, workplaces and communities negatively, perpetuating conflict, distrust and instability. Conversely, the righteous influence others positively, building unity, nurturing trust and promoting stability. Proverbs repeatedly highlights the far-reaching impact of decisions, encouraging readers to pursue wisdom actively and avoid the pitfalls of foolishness. Furthermore, the contrast between righteousness and folly demonstrates the practical application of wisdom. Proverbs shows that ethical living, wise speech, diligence, careful planning, and relational integrity are inseparable from the fear of Jesus. Wisdom is not abstract. It manifests in daily habits, attitudes, and interactions. Every choice becomes an opportunity to reflect God's character, nurture blessing, and experience personal growth. Ultimately, Part 2 reinforces that the paths of righteousness and foolishness are distinct and consequential. The righteous experience the fruit of wisdom, stability, peace, spiritual growth, and relational harmony. The foolish face instability, conflict, and moral compromise. By observing this contrast, readers are motivated to pursue wisdom intentionally, recognize the consequences of folly, and align every aspect of life with God's principles. Proverbs makes it clear the fear of Jesus leads to righteousness and flourishing, while neglecting divine guidance leads to folly and its unavoidable consequences. Every decision from speech to action has eternal and practical significance, making the pursuit of wisdom essential for a blessed and fulfilling life. Part 3. Practical guidance for daily living. Once the foundation of wisdom is established, and the contrast between righteousness and foolishness is clear, Proverbs turns to practical guidance for daily life. Wisdom is meant to be lived, applied, and reflected in every decision we make. How we manage our work, speech, finances, and relationships shows whether we are walking in divine wisdom or succumbing to folly. Proverbs emphasizes that diligence, foresight, and intentionality are essential for building a life that honors Jesus. Ignoring these principles can lead to instability, regret, and unnecessary conflict, while embracing them produces growth, peace, and influence that blesses others. Work and diligence are central. Proverbs praises perseverance, careful planning, and consistent effort. Laziness or seeking shortcuts may offer temporary relief, but lasting success requires intentional, disciplined effort, aligned with God's guidance. Diligence is not simply labor, it is a lifestyle marked by thoughtful, purposeful action. Using time, skills, and resources wisely transforms ordinary labor into service and purpose, demonstrating God's wisdom in tangible ways. A diligent life benefits not only the individual but also family, community, and society. Speech is another critical area. Words can build up or tear down, bless or harm. The wise speak truthfully, thoughtfully, and kindly, fostering trust, harmony, and influence. They avoid gossip, slander, and impulsive remarks, understanding that words can have lasting consequences on relationships and reputation. The foolish speak impulsively or deceitfully, creating conflict and relational damage. Intentional, godly speech reflects inner wisdom, strengthens relationships and cultivates an environment of trust and blessing. Proverbs shows that words are not merely communication, they are reflections of character and reverence for God. Financial stewardship is emphasized as both practical and moral. Ethical management of resources, careful planning, generosity, and avoiding greed reflect applied wisdom. Prudence brings stability, security, and opportunities to bless others, while reckless or selfish choices create stress and instability. Wise handling of resources demonstrates reverence for God and integrity in daily life, allowing for long-term security, the ability to help others, and the chance to glorify God through acts of generosity and service. Relationships are also critical. Proverbs teaches humility, patience, discernment, loyalty, and service in interactions with family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues. The wise cultivate harmony, reconcile conflicts, and act with empathy, fostering networks of trust and support. The foolish act selfishly or impulsively, causing unnecessary conflict. Inner wisdom manifests in relational health and stability, demonstrating God's guidance practically. Those who embody relational wisdom influence families, communities, and society positively, leaving a lasting impact. Integration is essential. Practical wisdom is holistic, ethical conduct. Careful speech, diligent work, financial prudence, and relational integrity form a cohesive pattern of life. Each decision becomes an opportunity to honor Jesus, build character, and bless others. By consistently applying these principles, believers navigate life with clarity, effectiveness, and blessing, demonstrating the transformative power of godly wisdom. Consistency and intentionality are critical. Wisdom is cultivated daily through reflection, prayer, and application of God's principles. A life shaped by Proverbs is disciplined, thoughtful, and purposeful. Every choice becomes a chance to demonstrate integrity, honor God, and create positive influence, transforming ordinary life into a platform for blessing, growth, and impact. Part 4. Inner transformation and character development. Practical actions shape behavior, but Proverbs emphasizes that true wisdom begins with inner transformation. Character development aligns motives, desires, and thought patterns with God's principles, ensuring that outward behavior flows naturally from a heart devoted to Jesus. Ethical behavior alone is insufficient. It must be rooted in internal transformation. Proverbs shows that inner growth is both the source and evidence of true wisdom, producing integrity, moral strength, and consistent godly living. Without internal change, even well-intentioned actions can lack depth, consistency, or lasting impact. Humility is foundational. Those who are humble accept correction, learn from experience, and seek guidance rather than relying solely on personal understanding. Pride blinds the heart, leading to repeated mistakes, relational conflict, and moral compromise. Humility allows wisdom to take root and flourish, fostering teachability, moral sensitivity, and thoughtful navigation of challenges. A humble heart values counsel, acknowledges limitations, and honors God in all decisions, producing practical and spiritual benefits. Humility transforms the way a believer responds to trials, criticism, and opportunity, cultivating a disposition that honors Jesus. Self-control is critical. Proverbs emphasizes mastery of impulses, desires, and speech. The wise temper anger, act deliberately, and resist rash choices, ensuring motives and actions align with God's principles. Self-control protects relationships, promotes stability, and cultivates moral consistency. The foolish allow impulses and selfish desires to dictate behavior, producing relational conflict, personal stress, and moral compromise. Discipline of the heart enables believers to act consistently with divine wisdom, producing fruit in thought, speech, behavior, and relationships. Patience and discernment are vital. Proverbs teaches that waiting, reflecting, and exercising careful judgment prevents pitfalls and guides ethical, godly decisions. Discernment helps navigate complex situations, making thoughtful choices that honor God and benefit others. Patience fosters maturity, measured responses, and the ability to grow through experience. These qualities are cultivated intentionally through reflection, prayer, and consistent application of divine principles, forming a heart capable of enduring trials and making wise decisions. Integrity is the hallmark of a transformed heart. Internal values must align with external behavior. Knowledge of right action is insufficient unless it produces consistent practice. Integrity fosters trust, strengthens relationships, and ensures moral consistency, even under pressure. Misalignment between heart and behavior produces instability and relational harm. Proverbs teaches that wisdom reshapes the heart, producing congruence between internal life and outward conduct. Finally, inner transformation affects every area of life. Work, speech, relationships, and decision-making reflect the state of the heart. A life guided by wisdom manifests in ethical behavior, relational stability, and thoughtful, principled action. Character development is continuous, shaped by the fear of Jesus, reflection, and practical application of divine principles. Inner transformation is both the source and the fruit of true wisdom, ensuring that practical living, ethical decision-making, and relational influence flow naturally from a heart aligned with God. Those who cultivate inner transformation experience personal blessing and positively impact families, communities, and spheres of influence. Part 5. The rewards and consequences of wisdom. As we bring the teachings of Proverbs closer to the culmination of our journey, it becomes clear that wisdom is not merely about knowledge or practical skill. It is about results, outcomes, and the tangible blessings that flow from a life aligned with God. Proverbs repeatedly emphasizes that those who walk in wisdom, who live with reverence for Jesus, and who act with integrity and intentionality, experience tangible rewards. These rewards manifest in multiple dimensions: spiritual clarity, emotional stability, relational harmony, personal fulfillment, and societal influence. They are not always immediate, but they are enduring, forming the fruit of a life that consistently applies God's guidance. The righteous, those who pursue wisdom, reap the benefits of clarity in decision-making. Life's challenges, uncertainties, and complexities are navigated with confidence and discernment. Financially, relationally, and professionally, wise living provides security and stability, reducing the chaos and regret that often accompany impulsive or foolish actions. Proverbs teaches that blessing is cumulative. Each choice to act wisely compounds over time, reinforcing stability and producing environments in which growth and influence flourish. The individual who embraces wisdom gains not only personal benefits, but also the ability to bless others, acting as a conduit of God's goodness and guidance. Relationships are another area where the rewards of wisdom are evident. Those who act with humility, patience, loyalty, and discernment build networks of trust and mutual respect. Families thrive, communities flourish, and workplaces become centers of cooperation and productivity. Conversely, foolish choices often result in conflict, relational breakdown, and isolation. Proverbs emphasizes that folly has consequences that extend beyond the individual, affecting those around them. Relationships serve as a mirror, reflecting the inner wisdom or folly of the heart, and demonstrating how practical application of divine principles transforms the social and spiritual environment of a person's life. Spiritual and moral clarity is also a key reward. A person who embraces the fear of Jesus and pursues wisdom is guided by discernment in ethical dilemmas, resisting temptation, and aligning personal behavior with divine truth. This alignment produces peace of mind and confidence, fostering resilience in adversity. Proverbs teaches that the blessings of wisdom are not merely material but deeply spiritual. They cultivate a life attuned to God's guidance, a life capable of seeing beyond immediate circumstances, and a life that contributes to eternal purposes. The consequences of ignoring wisdom, by contrast, often include moral compromise, regret, and spiritual disorientation. Folly leads to a life marked by missteps, poor choices, and missed opportunities, demonstrating that the consequences of ignoring God's guidance are real and significant. Furthermore, the rewards of wisdom extend into influence and legacy. Those who consistently apply wisdom become sources of guidance for others, shaping families, communities, and institutions positively. Influence grows from integrity, discernment, and the ability to make thoughtful, godly choices. The foolish, however, often leave behind disruption, conflict, and instability, reflecting the cumulative cost of neglecting divine principles. Proverbs shows that life's trajectory is determined by repeated choices. Each act of wisdom reinforces blessing, while each act of folly compounds difficulty. Ultimately, Part 5 teaches that the pursuit of wisdom is not abstract. It is tangible, consequential, and transformative. Every choice, every action, every decision matters. The rewards of living wisely manifest in peace, clarity, relational harmony, moral consistency, and the ability to bless others. The consequences of foolishness are equally tangible, resulting in instability, conflict, regret, and the erosion of personal and communal well-being. Proverbs challenges readers to pursue wisdom intentionally, demonstrating that a life aligned with God produces enduring blessing, influence, and fulfillment, while a life without wisdom bears consequences that cannot be ignored. The choice is deliberate, the results real, and the invitation clear. Pursue wisdom, fear Jesus, and live a life that reflects His guidance in every dimension. Conclusion. The journey through Proverbs reveals a coherent and transformative message. Wisdom begins with the fear of Jesus, distinguishes the righteous from the foolish, provides practical guidance for daily living, shapes inner character, and produces tangible rewards, while avoiding the consequences of folly. Every aspect of life, work, speech, finances, relationships, and thought is influenced by the application of divine wisdom. Proverbs is not merely a collection of sayings. It is a blueprint for a life that honors God, blesses others, and navigates complexity with clarity and integrity. By embracing Proverbs, believers gain insight into God's character, learn to live intentionally, and cultivate habits that produce stability, peace, and influence. Inner transformation ensures that external actions align with divine principles, making wisdom a lived experience rather than an abstract concept. The rewards of such a life are enduring moral clarity, relational health, spiritual growth, and the ability to positively impact families, communities, and society. Conversely, ignoring wisdom leads to conflict, regret, instability, and moral compromise, demonstrating the real-world consequences of folly. Proverbs calls us to a life of discernment, deliberate choice, and alignment with God's guidance. By pursuing wisdom daily, internalizing its principles, and applying them in practical ways, believers experience transformation in thought, speech, behavior, and relationships. This transformation produces a ripple effect, blessing not only the individual, but also all who interact with them. The message of Proverbs is clear, timeless, and profoundly practical. Pursue wisdom, fear Jesus, and allow God's guidance to shape every dimension of your life. In doing so, you cultivate a life of stability, blessing, and influence, reflecting the heart of God and leaving a lasting impact for generations to come.